Grüezi ragazzi, bienvenue und willkommen in actually our first LinkedIn Live of this 2024. It's a pleasure being back with you, with Dr. Fabio Turco. We are here back today with one of the topics that has got much of your attention in the last year. So we wanted to enter it and deepen it a little bit more today and in one of our next lives. We have a lineup for you for the next month, a really interesting program of Tuesday LinkedIn Live. So we really hope not only that you're going to enjoy today and join us in a fruitful conversation and engaging conversation with us. Of course, feel free as always to write us questions. We'll take all of these by the end of the class, but also hopefully you'll like it and you'll like this Tuesday afternoon meeting, and we'll just see you every Tuesday 5:30 to 6 GMT time for the next of the year, for the rest of the year. So without any other further ado, since we have a very dense class today, I'm very honored to present today double-blind placebo-controlled clinical trials, which is going to be the topic of today. Obviously, being a very, very extensive topic, today we will start from what we consider being the beginning. We will give you a sort of historical insight to the start of double-blind placebo-controlled clinical trials in cannabis and cannabinoid containing therapies, and then we will start from what are the most historical and consolidated data. So of course you will see pathologies like pain, for example, and we will explore other pathologies that perhaps are a little bit more novel in the next lives, because well, we just want to dedicate the right attention to all of these studies, because we always say that there aren't enough studies, but it's time to actually examine the ones that there are. So Fabio, take it away from me, please.
Okay, thank you, Viola, for this introduction. And to those of you who are following us on the Baris channel, welcome back to Cannabis Sciences Live on LinkedIn. Let's start this year in science with this lesson on clinical trials on cannabinoid. And let's start with a brief introduction on the cannabis use in Western medicine. We know that cannabis has a long history of medical use since ancient time, but it was introduced in Western medicine only in the 19th century by Sir William O'Shaughnessy, that was a medical doctor and pharmacologist from Ireland. During the 1830s, he traveled to India, where he encountered the cannabis plant. So he started to study the property of this plant and started also to treat his patient with medical cannabis with good results. So when he came back in the United Kingdom in the 1840s, he took the plant with him and introduced the plant to the Western medicine. At the time, the plant was used especially to treat rabies, rheumatic pain, epilepsy, and tetanus. And the plant gained a lot of popularity among medical doctors, especially for its pain relieving property, for its ability to relax the muscles, and for its anti-inflammatory and spasmodic properties. For this reason, during the 19th and early 20th centuries, various cannabis-based preparation was included in Western pharmacopoeias. But at the beginning of the 20th century, with stricter drug regulation around cannabis that started in the United States and was then included in the rest of the world. Cannabis was considered just a drug of abuse and was removed from medical use for a long time. Indeed, it has been only recently that we have seen a renewed interest in this plant thanks to its medical property. And this is due to the fact that now various countries worldwide recognize the medical properties of cannabis. And so cannabis started to be investigated with the contemporary medical standards. And this includes also the use of rigorous double-blinded placebo-controlled medical trials. And this highlight a shift towards more evidence-based research in exploring the potential of medical cannabis. But which kind of drug are we going to employ? What are the types of cannabis and cannabinoid available? And in this slide, there are summarized the preparation that are currently available. And there are basically three kinds of preparation. We have prescription medication that are drugs that have been approved by the FDA and or the EMA for some condition. So they are licensed medicine, and they include THC dominant substances such as dronabinol, which is synthetic THC, or nabilon, which is a synthetic THC analog. Then we have preparation with a balanced ratio of THC and CBD, and they are represented mainly by nabiximols with the commercial name of Sativex. That is an extraction product with a THC CBD ratio of 1:1. And finally, we have CBD dominant drug, which is represented by Epidiolex. That is a product with a 99% of pure CBD obtained by extraction. So this is the first kind of preparation of substances that we can use. Then we have extraction products which have not been approved by any regulatory entity, and have different regulation in the various countries. Typically, extraction products are available as galenic preparation, but can be also prepared by companies operating with GMP standards. They are typically in the form of oils, but we can also have a preparation for inhalation and for topical use. And also in this case, we have THC dominant products, CBD dominant products, and products with a balanced ratio of both. Finally, we have whole plant products. This product can be available in various countries of the world, and their accessibility depends on the various regulations adopted by each state. Also, in this case, this product may feature a dominance of THC, of CBD, of a balanced ratio of both. It is important to note that that these two last type of products, namely extraction products and whole plant products, do not hold marketing authorization, and therefore can be sold or as unlicensed medicine prescribed by a doctor, or as API to be manipulated or compounded by a magistral pharmacy in order to obtain a preparation, a cannabis-based preparation. So basically, these are the substances that we are going to use, that are used also in clinical trials. And as we can see, only a limited number of substances are approved for a specific condition, with the off-label use being very common. And this reflects the fact that it's very difficult to have a medicine approved, because this include the fact that the medicine needs to complete all the phases of clinical trials in order to establish an intellectual property around the cannabinoid. And to establish an intellectual property is very important, especially for the pharmaceutical companies. just to imagine, I want to just propose a data that shows that only in 2023, the pharmaceutical cannabis industry have reached approximately a global sales of around 1.11 billion of dollars, and it is expected to grow to 1.57 billions of dollars to 2027. So this data show how important it is to establish intellectual property on cannabinoid, and this can be done throughout all the phases of clinical trials.
Absolutely. Sorry, Fabio, if I enter. Thank you. Actually, it's very interesting data. Just want to make a I just add the detail that it's stupid, but it's a reality. Dronabinol, it's not always necessarily synthetic. Can also come, of course, it's THC. Can also come from a natural source. It's just adding this doesn't change anything, and it's awesome to have this as first slide before we even enter into the trials, because literally this is like what you can refer to every time you look at the studies and all the tables that these are tables that actually we have placed in the book. So if you already have this bad boy, you have read the tables, and this class helps you interpret these tables that we're going to be looking at. And so actually these are the compounds that have been studied. And why is this important? Because as you know, as clearly Fabio is saying, without a standard or standardized therapy, it's impossible then to define results upon them. So this is like to have references of what we're going to be talking about when it's going to be a definition of THC, high THC, or balanced, or CBD, high CBD. It usually is this type of products that are examined. So thank you. Sorry for sorry for adding myself.
No, thank you, Viola, for this important important note, because as you say, the cannabinol can be also natural, not only synthetic, and this reflects almost all the substances that we can find in the pharmacies, but also that are analyzed throughout clinical trials. And going to analyze all trials by condition, we can see the vast majority of trials center around pain. And this is not surprising, since pain is one of the first condition for which medical cannabis has been used since ancient times. Following pain, we can see a great number of trials focused on epilepsy and multiple sclerosis. And also this is not surprising, considering that, as we have seen, the two main cannabis-based licensed products are Sativex and Epidiolex, used for multiple sclerosis and epilepsy, respectively. Then we have anxiety, and this reflects the fact that, especially in recent years, cannabinoids have gained interest to treat mental-related disorders, not only anxiety, but also, for example, depression. Then we find cancer, and this demonstrates there is ongoing interest in cannabis-based product, not only as palliative care for cancer patients, but also specifically to treat some kind of cancer, as we are going to see in the next slides. Then we find PTSD and other conditions such as HIV, especially in this case, cannabis and cannabinoid are used to improve the life of HIV patients. Then we see other conditions that have gained interest in clinical trials, such as inflammatory bowel disease, insomnia, opioid use. Indeed, this is very important. Indeed, various clinical trials try to improve opioid-related use disorders, and then we find other conditions like neurodegenerative diseases, like neurological diseases like Alzheimer and Parkinson, and so on. So as we can see, there are a broad range of conditions that can be treated by medical cannabis, and this reflects the fact that most of clinical trials are focused on this condition. In this other slide, we can see a map that shows all trials by countries. And when we see the darker blue, you can see a large majority of trials, and the large majority of trials have been conducted in the United States, following by Canada and UK. This is an interesting slide because we can see, for example, considering Europe, that important countries like Italy and Germany that have a long-standing medical cannabis history and a huge population, around 140 million of people, this country see less activity in clinical trials compared, for example, to United States. And this may reflect a difference in the institutional support towards the research and development of cannabis-based products, which seems somewhat slower in the European Union compared to other countries. Here indeed, these charts showed all trials by intervention. On the left, you can see a chart analyzing the trials, all the trials by intervention. And we can see that the majority of trials have been conducted with both THC and CBD, followed by CBD alone, Sativex, Dronabinol, and so on. So it seems that both THC and CBD alone are the most studied compounds. But if we go into analyze the recent year, starting, for example, from 2021 and on, we see that the large majority of trials have been conducted with the CBD alone. And probably this trend indicates that is due to the fact that ethical committee approval for CBD is far less more easy compared to other cannabinoids. And so trials try to focus on CBD because of this. And going to considering CBD, in the right side of this slide, you can see the breakdown of trials for which CBD only is the intervention. And in this case, the majority of trials focus especially on pain and epilepsy, and especially epilepsy because it is one of the conditions for which CBD has obtained very good result. And then we can see also CBD has been analyzed for anxiety, cancer, and other conditions. THC.
I think what's I think what's really interesting here, going back to the CBD, to the CBD slide, is, for example, the big chunk of studies carried out on metabolic disorders and diabetes, which we wouldn't see for both compounds, so THC and CBD, or a THC only. And in that sense, rather than pain, I would say, or PTSD, like this type of condition, it's more common to see like also in a THC only. But CBD in particular, I believe it extends the target pathologies to targets that wouldn't be touched in a way by THC only, like, for example, diabetes, but also perhaps cardiac issues or inflammations like in the kidneys, like some specific areas that THC not only doesn't seem to be particularly useful, but like, for example, in the case of diabetes, may actually worsen the condition. And this is quite striking because instead we can just take that molecule out and extend even further the target pathologies that we can go with this plant. So this is amazing. I just also wanted to add another thing. All of these slides where you see a couple of logos, Cannabiscientia and Prohibition Partner, they are kindly offered by a collaboration that we did with Prohibition Partner for the report on cannabis pharma. So, of course, you can find that online in the website of Prohibition Partner, and these are just some excerpts on things that we've been working on. So, thanks again to the team of Prohibition Partner to letting us use and showcase all of this work.
Yes, I also forgot to mention Prohibition Partner, but they have been very useful to provide us this information. So going on, analyzing just another consideration regarding diabetes. CBD has been tested a lot for diabetes and diabetes-related condition, but also other cannabinoids that we don't show today have been analyzed in this condition. For example, THC-B and the THC-A have been analyzed with probably better results than CBD in diabetes. Regarding THC and considering natural THC and synthetic THC, of course, the main condition tested has been pain, followed, very interesting, by PTSD and neurological conditions such as Alzheimer's, and also cancer. As we see in the next slide, cancer is somewhat challenging to treat with all the substances, but also with the cannabinoid, but we can have good results in some cases. When cannabinoids, when THC and CBD are used together, the vast majority of trials focus on pain, followed by multiple sclerosis, and this is again the case of Sativex, cancer, HIV, and so on. This is a very important graphic that shows all the completed phase 3 clinical trials with the cannabinoid. And as we can see, the vast majority of trials that completed the phase 3 focused on both THC, CBD and on CBD only. And this reflects the fact that these trials have been conducted and completed by the two approved medication that we talked before, that are Sativex, where you see both, and Epidiolex, where you see the CBD alone. This probably reflects the fact that the company behind these two compounds, that is Jets Pharmaceutical, are trying to provide more data regarding the efficacy of its compound, its patented compound. Moreover, this once again demonstrated that completing phase 3 trials is a very expensive and lengthy process that usually can be carried out only by big pharmaceutical company with the purpose, with the aim to establish intellectual property on their compounds. So now let's start let's start with an in-depth analysis of all the clinical trials conducted by condition. And of course, we start from the condition that gained the largest focus on clinical trials, as we can see, that is pain. Just a brief introduction on pain. Pain can be considered a very complex sensory and emotional experience that can serve as a protective mechanism. Pain typically arises to respond to potential harmful stimuli or potential injuries, and it signals the presence of a problem prompting the individual to take an action to prevent further damages. Pain perception involves the central nervous system, but can be influenced by various factors such as emotional, physical, and psychological factors. And we have two main types of pain that are chronic pain and acute pain. Acute pain is the sudden onset of pain that usually is tied to a specific injury or disease. Usually it lasts few moments to few weeks. It has a clear end point, and can be caused by various conditions such as traumas, injuries, cuts, burns, and also diseases. But it has a clear endpoint, differently from chronic pain. Indeed, chronic pain is a kind of pain that persists longer, typically 3 months or more. And unlike acute pain, it seems not to serve for it seems not to serve for a protective function. And usually with chronic pain, it's very challenging to identify the specific trigger. It can result from conditions such as fibromyalgia, nerve damages, arthritis, and other conditions, and that are not fully healed. And usually chronic pain can be also influenced by psychological, physical factor, and also the lifestyle. So pain is a broad term encompassing various kind of symptoms. And for example, if we go in analyze, as is in this chart, all the terms associated with the pain in clinical trials with the cannabinoid, we can see a broad number of entities. For example, the first two terms associated with the pain is chronic and neuropathic. And this reflects the fact that cannabinoids are especially useful in this kind of pain, chronic and neuropathic pain, compared, for example, to acute pain. Also, cancer pain is a condition that can be addressed with good result by cannabinoids. Indeed, it's a lot of clinical trials focus on cancer-related pain. And then we have other kind of pain, such as knee pain, low back pain, various injuries, fibromyalgia, pain derived from various conditions, and so on. So these are the kind of pain analyzed in the clinical trials. And so let's start to see which are the trials for analyzing the efficacy and safety of synthetic THC in chronic pain. Here in this table and in the following tables, we have included the most important clinical trials on the various conditions. We didn't include all the clinical trials because it's very difficult usually to obtain data for all the clinical trials. For example, trials that are not registered on clinicaltrials.gov are very difficult to reach. But anyway, when synthetic THC is used in chronic pain, we can see a very good result. In these tables, where you see the black color, it means that the trials have been conducted with good results, with positive results. Indeed, when you see red writing, it means that there have been negative results. And we can see that the combination of THC in various dosages has been useful to treat chronic pain, especially derived from cancer, neuropathic pain, and also fibromyalgia-related pain. There are various concentration THC used. Only in this last trial, we can see that oral 20 milligram of oral THC have not been useful to treat neuropathic pain, specifically spinal cord injury. Considering the trials with full spectrum cannabis, also in this case, the results are usually positive. For example, in this case, THC or THC plus CBD in the first line, THC and THC plus CBD are effective in treating chronic pain differently from CBD alone. Also other kind, and in this case, full spectrum cannabis has been useful to treat neuropathic pain, allodynia, chemotherapy related pain, peripheral neuropathy, spinal injury, central neuropathy, arthritis, lower back pain. And it seems that the medical cannabis, full spectrum cannabis, do not work with neuropathy related to diabetes. Concluding the trials with chronic pain, we can see indeed that CBD didn't show good results in chronic pain. Indeed, all the trials that we analyzed did not show any positive result with the CBD. And this reflects the fact that also in the clinical practice, when we treat chronic pain, we use THC or at least combination THC and CBD, while CBD had been analyzed very in depth for chronic pain, but not with good results.
Fabio, I'm going to have to, I know you have way more data to show, but I think we need to call it here. At least we managed to enter in this quarter plane like these first comparison tables of THC only versus CBD only versus both. And I think just to show before we close, I mean, it's the first live of the year, so we're going to be late, that it's quite clear if you go and look also at the number of patients. This is a really important factor that really is way more relevant in terms of result, what happens with the both compounds, with the full plant, because when you look at the dosages, then it's way more effective at lower dosages compared to dosages in THC only that would create and generate some sort of side effects like ataxia or dizziness, which obviously at lower doses not always are experienced. And I mean, numbers are talking on their own. The only study that kind of didn't show excellent efficacy had only 7 patients. So I would always recommend to have like a attentive view and not just stick to works, it doesn't work. Also looking, of course, to how many people was tested and who funded the study and all of these details. We go through this in a lot of details, of course, in our book, Principles of Clinical Cannabinology. You can find it in the link as well down this live. We are going to be back continuing this story and many other, because there is a lot of clarity to be made on this topic. The next Tuesday, same time, same people, different topics, and happy to receive any question if you have any. Otherwise, we're going to close it really soon. And thanking you for being with us for this new start of new year together.
Thank you. I see you next week.
Ciao.